everyone, and we welcome you back to the most prestigious League of Legends league in the entire Southeast Asia, the Garena Premier League 2017 Summer. I am Vulcan, and with me is Arctic. We will be your casters for Game 4, going into TME versus Young Generation.
And my oh my, I mean, just having come off from Game 3 early, where we kind of witnessed two of the teams that were kind of at the bottom from last split. But regardless, I gotta say, Resurgence really coming off that game, showing a lot more forethought than the Indonesian squad. But then again, it's a whole different story as we head into this game. Two teams that have actually played during Game 1 and Game 2 respectively, but very different results. Team Manila Eagles with their one win, while Young Generation at a loss going into this game.
So this will be Young Generation's and TME's both second game, whereas Young Generation, they did suffer a defeat. So will this be their saving grace, where they will tie it up for a 1-1, or will TME, with the momentum from the first game, the opening match, they've showed us what they've got. Here are the standings to see who's at top.
Yes, and of course, at first and second, Team Manila Eagles and Kuala Lumpur Hunters respectively with a win each, followed by Resurgence and the rest of the squad for Southeast Asia.
Yeah, you want to be in the top two if you want to move on to the next stage, which is the knockout stage. So right now, we will be having the group stages for 3 days. After that, we'll be moving on to the knockout stage, where we will determine who will be advancing up to the finals. Then, gotta say, after that, pretty much you're going to Worlds.
Yes, that's definitely the dream here for all 7 of our Southeast Asian contenders in the GPL. But of course, there's only 2 people that could make it. We'll just have to see. But then again, talking about this game here, these are the 2 teams that have tons and tons of lots of people have high expectations of both these teams here. Team Manila Eagles coming off an undefeated streak in their local country, the Philippines, while Young Generation, the second seed that's able to benefit from the outstanding performance from Gigabyte Marines, granting Vietnam 2 slots into the GPL. So again, we'll just have to see. This is definitely going to be a defining game, I'd say.
So when you're talking about the, let's say, TME actually did the reverse sweep in their respective region, whereas Young Generation, they did suffer a crushing blow against the Titan, the Gigabyte Marines, in their Mountain Dew Championship Series, whereas they were the second seed. They are going to be the first GPL ever, same as TME. So these are actually teams who are entering the GPL for the first time. Let's see who is the better newcomer and to raise the bar and what it takes to be in the GPL at your first time.
Indeed. Of course, to determine that, let's go ahead and check out the bans being thrown out coming in from Team Manila Eagles and Young Generation. So it is actually the Rek'Sai, the Rakan, and the Cassiopeia respectively going to be taken away from Young Generation, as well as Porky, Galio, and Zac from Team Manila Eagles. And that is going to be the Maokai Hover, very, very potent champion as of this batch. I actually wouldn't be surprised if that's going to be an insta-lock coming in from Team Manila Eagles. And yes, indeed, Maokai going to be in the hands of TME for Clips.
Very interesting band coming from Young Generation, where we do see a pattern where a Corky does get buffed before Worlds happening. So Young Generation, they know how to prioritize, but now they are going to be taking away the Jarvan and Thresh, one of the high priority picks in their respective region, especially Jarvan, which I see they always get first if they have the opportunity.
Indeed. So Jarvan and Thresh, actually no surprise right here. Another 2 picks that we frequently see rise within this patch. So, whoa, this is going to be very juicy indeed.
So this is going to be the juggernaut lineup for TME. It will be a top Cho'Gath and a jungle Maokai. Despite the nerfs on the Maokai, it's still for the jungler.
Yeah, I mean, regardless, this Maokai and the Cho'Gath combined together, if Team Manila Eagles gets all the key ingredients to make this composition quite OP, then I wouldn't be surprised. They might actually have a great time against Young Generation. But of course, in exchange, we have been pegging how the Vietnamese region has been one of the higher on top regions in Southeast Asia. So given that the Maokai and Cho'Gath were left open for Team Manila Eagles for the taking, I'm interested in seeing just what they'll draft to counter this, because I'm pretty sure they won't leave these 2 OP champions just purely open without any reason. But then again, Kalista, another champion that pretty much complements this composition here, while the Syndra is going to be locked in for Young Generation as we head into the second banning phase.
Very, I would say that to everyone who's watching right now, that the lineup right now we're seeing from TME, it's pretty scary if you put it on paper. And the same for Young Generation, where they have this Syndra, Thresh, and Jarvan. So right now, first picking phase alone, we can already determine who has the upper hand. But let's see on to the second phase of the banning to determine who will actually control the last two picks, because at this point, every member has this OP pick so far. So let's see who will take away the, let's say, the last stand from it.
Yes, last stand indeed. Because, man, every game counts, because you only go up against all these teams in the group stage only once. So every win you want to count, and there's only 2 slots to put into account.
Yes, we are on our double round robin format where for day 1, they will have a taste of each other's talent. But moving on to day 2, they will be facing against each other. But I have to say, TME banning out the Saya Tristana for Big Coro. He has been one of the players you have to watch out, especially for young generation from their performance in the championship. But it's the fact that the Marines were, I gotta say, they are up at a different level, a different world. They have different mindsets, so they have this exposure. That's why young generation had a hard time, but now this is their chance to tell the entire Southeast Asia that we are the second seed of Vietnam and we are actually up par with the Gigabyte Marines.
Indeed, that's definitely a lot of pressure, because coming into Vietnam, just the country itself, lots and lots of expectation. So you kind of want to live up to your same regional team, Gigabyte Marines.
It's like when you associate yourself with Vietnam, instantly you remember the Marines, right?
Yeah.
And the young generation are like, yeah, we fought them like countless times. We stacked up experience, and let us show you what we've got. And now on to the last picks.
Wow.
TME, whoa, getting the Z right off the bat for Rocks. Let us see his support pick.
Yeah, I mean, of course, with the Cogmos, well, giving it to Big Coro, especially with the Saya and the Tristana locked in. As Neve said, these are 2 of the AD carries that are very highly likely to come up here as of this patch, with just how powerful they are, along with the Callisto, which was locked in by Trevor here. So Zed, I'm not surprised as well. Another champion that Trevor is known to be quite efficient at. While we also have Tariq, I'd say goes pretty well, I'd say. And not to mention, especially with the rise of these tanky champions once again. So,
and we are actually seeing the rise of the Nar Van combo is in play for young generation. They did pull this off in their Mountain Dew Championship Series. Let's see how TME will face off against this Nar Van combo, because as soon as you see that Venus goes in with the Jarvan Cataclysm, you are bound. You have to be ready that with this Nar ready to go crazy on us, the Rage Bar will be the key for TME to fight back against this composition.
Yeah, that Rage Bar could really make it or break it for young generation as well if they couldn't quite keep that bar in check. But of course, then again, they are the second seed, so I have high expectations nonetheless for both the teams. But with that, both compositions locked in, a lot of OP takes here coming in from TME in the form of both the Cho'Gath and the Maokai. Let's just see how the second seed of Vietnam will be faring with the composition that they have, which I'd personally say is pretty decent going up against TME.
This is going to be intense, knowing that we are seeing a Cho'Gath, Maokai, and the Narvan on for young generation. So I gotta say for you, Arctic, I have a question. Who do you think will get the upper hand? Because once the level 6 does unlock for both teams, you should expect mayhem.
Well, at the end of the day, as how both teams will play it out, I'd say, given the picks, it's just all about going into that level. Like you did mention, once these guys start hitting level 6, that's where the bloodbaths will really start happening, especially if somebody pulls the trigger and really starts pushing towards reaching their optimal power spike. So again, it's really up to both teams to make that happen, and it's very, very scary.
Especially when it comes to macro-wise, where the Drakes will be the center stage. Let us hope that the RNGesus will determine how the gameplay will turn out. Will it be an Infernal start or a Mountain start? Let's see. But we all know that if it's an Infernal start, you get to expect that bot lane will be hell. Knowing that it's a Cogmouth pick, which other teams really have a hard time doing, but leave it to young generation, the second seed of Vietnam, to pull it off.
Gonna see a lot of muscles being flexed for this game, I would say. But yeah, I mean, the tricky part here is that every single advantage, because given the nature of the compositions of the team, every single, both Team Manila Eagles and Young Generation, they want to capitalize on what advantages they can pick up on to really reach their optimal spikes. Such as when, especially with these strikes here, if high priority ones come up, then that's really something that both teams would really want to contest, because that's an easy stepping stone to really set the tempo of that game. And given that these are two powerful teams coming into Southeast Asia with such high expectations, I'm definitely expecting a lot of blood to be shed for this game in order to reach the spikes that they need to dominate.
But sometimes we can expect that the teams who are behind will try and cut back or lower their levels of aggression, especially the Narvan combo is actually something very high risk, or no risk, high reward scenario, but it only works from pure coordination. And I've seen the mechanics of Young Generation. They do have what it takes to pull it off, especially the Jarvan up top.
I mean, a lot of people have been saying how, sure, they are the second seed, second to Gigabyte Marines, and a lot of people are saying, but regardless, the skill cap between those two teams is still quite big, but nonetheless, it's colossal. That's actually an adjective I would say is appropriate, but nonetheless, despite that gap here, the same goes for the other Southeast Asian teams, I'd say. Although, as far as teams that could potentially keep up with them, maybe Manila Eagles, maybe Kuala Lumpur Hunters, but we'll just have to see as that translates into Game 4 between Team Manila Eagles versus Young Generation.
Let's get straight to it. This is the battle of the newcomers, TME and Young Generation. TME on the blue side, whereas Young Generation is on the red side. This is going to be more of a fight of pride, or in a way that, let's see, I'm the newcomer here. We're both newcomers, but let's see who's the better one.
Yeah, but still looks like Venus has been caught out there, so that will be giving information to Team Manila Eagles as to what side they could expect Young Generation Stungler to start on.
You know what I can expect from this game, where JLC will pick up the Gargoyle Stoneblade, Righteous Glory, pop that Gargoyle Stoneblade, get that boost in HP, and just gobble down Big Cora, because Kongmao itself is a very low mobility champion, easy to pick up without a flash.
And you know what's really interesting here is that statistically, if you're going to look at the past 3 games, all across the board, the winning team is usually on the red side. So, again, there are these instances in certain patches where it favors a certain side, whether it be because of the drafting phase, where it gives you a lot more priority as to what picks you can get. But looks like we'll just have to see how that works out for Young Generation here, because even that may be so statistically with the past 3 games all going to red side. Looking at the composition of that team is something they do not want to underestimate. And coming to recall right here, for JLC, Cho'Gath was the winning champion that propelled them into qualifying for the GPL in the first place, really showing a lot of prowess on that champion.
So when you're talking about the red side, we're going to be seeing TME. They're actually red. Same as Young Generation, there are the Red Bulls. So let's see the Red Eagles and the Red Bulls. Who will win this matchup to really tilt the statistics into their own favor? TME is on the blue side, so if we see a pattern here, Young Generation might take it away, or will TME actually make it into their favor?
There we go. So, nonetheless, TME getting a lot of push-in onto the bot lane of Young Generation here.
And this is the aggressive bot lane duo we did see in Game 1 of the group stages. Jungler-wise pathing, we are seeing the one we've seen over and over the past 3 games. But it's up to who will pull the trigger. We're seeing right now for the levels of our junglers, we're seeing level 3. So when we see that level 6 happen, this will be the switch where Young Generation, they will look for some blood and try and see some objectives.
Man, oh man. But regardless, looks like we have
mid lane coming in. Trevor gets stunned by the Scatter the Weak, but he does make it away to the safety of his flash.
Man. But it is interesting.
On the bot lane side, though,
wow.
I think Pallet did not really calculate his position properly. Getting stun locked like that with a Kalista is bad news.
Again, this is what we've been talking about right here. Potentially quite a bit of action to allow both teams to reach their power quite early on. Like now we stun onto Big Color, not really arguably absence, but nonetheless, first blood actually going to the hands.
Oh boy, this is actually the start of a pattern we've seen before, where Trevor really struggles to show that he has what it takes to be the mid laner, but when he does give a first spot onto a Syndra, what happens? He goes behind EXP. But right now, Venus going for a gap, but the drag combo does not connect with his knockup. So JLC will be burning his flash also for Venus.
That was a very awkward flash burn from Venus as well, especially since I don't really think they would have gotten the kill either way. So we'll just have to see. Let's go ahead and check out what happened here towards the getting the kill onto Trevor here. So, you know, very, very low as is. Flash in coming from Null to secure that kill.
You do not recall inside of a Syndra, you will pay the price, and Null just showed that Trevor cannot do the same mistakes. So this gives further Null the advantage where he might reach, he will reach level 6 first, and when that happens, I don't think Trevor can even fight back. Right now we're seeing top lane Wise the level 5, Venus is level 4, so expect that when the level 6 spikes do happen, there's going to be more chaos.
And you know what's tricky here is that by history with Trevor on the set, sure, he has been performing quite well, but the problem is, in most of the games that he has played Zed, he wasn't really able to optimize windows of opportunity where he could get successful assassinations on priority targets. So whether or not this is something that he was able to potentially improve on over the weeks and weeks that they've had to practice, that's something that I'm yet to see. But thus far, we'll just have to see how that translates eventually.
And that was a solo kill at mid lane, so that's trouble, especially on a Syndra.
Especially. But oh no, that was Venus actually within the vicinity. Man, a lot of pressure being exerted here onto Trevor. We have been talking about how Trevor might potentially be one of the weaker links for Team E. Not because he is weak per se, but because of that general difficulty, as they have been mentioning in interviews, wherein Trevor is actually studying, so there's still that balance where they couldn't get the optimal practice that they might have wanted in preparation.
Yeah, the struggle, the environment all come into place when you are in the big stage, especially away from your home country. So this will be TME tasting the real raw talent from Vietnam, second seed.
This will actually be quite I'd say this is heavily determining as to whichever team wins, I'd say would kind of further strengthen what power rankings we might have. If YG wins this game, then maybe we could potentially put them up as a second contender. Same goes for TME, wherein if they win against YG, then definitely sets the bar higher for them as a team to look out for.
And now the fact that when Young Generation entered the GPL, they had a really big loss. And now, in the jungle side, we are seeing that, I think. Venus hits level 6, same with Ren. The Narvan combo has been unlocked, and TME will have to watch out for that.
This is very tricky for TME right now. They have been caught out in a lot of awkward moments. Trevor actually managed to survive by the skin of his teeth.
Like what I said, whoever reaches level 6 first in the mid lane will determine the flow. And I think Lady Luck was smiling onto Trevor. He does survive with a slither of health, but gives Null the confidence, telling that Trevor is very submissive right now.
Again, we've been talking about how both teams might want to make the proactive move to really reach their optimal spikes. But the problem here is, as far as proactivity, I've been seeing a lot more from Young Generation. Where in Team E, we've been seeing them kind of force them into a more responsive position to Young Generation's aggression, which I'd say has been definitely much more favorable for the second seed of Vietnam right now.
And this is going to be showing to the CS score. Looking at the top lane matchup, a 20 CS advantage against JLC, especially in the mid lane, where Null is really willing to hurt onto Trevor's presence, especially as Zed. Now Trevor picks up the Hex Drinker. Normally a Zed who is very much comfortable, confident, has the advantage to get the 30 turns, already get the lethality and assassinate and roam already, but Trevor can't do that.
And this is just going to be a huge struggle for Trevor here, because going into the later skirmishes, he really wants to try to get those assassination attempts on such high priority picks like the Syndra, like Big Koro. But because he had to reach a point where he had to go defensively against a pretty dominant wall in that mid lane, I'm very worried as to how much that affects the overall damage output for TME to reach those optimal results going into those skirmishes and even bigger clashes.
we're also seeing that Null is also picking up a more defensive build. I think he does not want to fall behind when Trevor does get the lead he needs. So right now Venus doing his job going around the jungle side. TME might aim for the first turret. They do want that for Marky. Give the lead to Marky. That revs up TME's potential. And later, maybe Trevor can catch up. But now, it would be very difficult.
Ooh.
Seeing how Trevor is on an AD assassin. Over the wall, Cataclysm connects onto Trevor, flashes away. That is a lot of summoners burn for Trevor, and I think Venus is pretty much happy with that.
This is something that Team Manila Eagles really has to deal with. Thus far, we've been talking about how Southeast Asian jugglers are probably some of the
look
best
at that! Not catching a break. Venus looks like young generation Red TME. They will be taking away the first turret of the game. Null has level 6. He does have the Unleash power, and Null takes down Trevor.
Man, this is not good at all for the mid laner of Team Manila Eagles. And such an early turret taken down, not to mention a middle turret, which pretty much opens up the map for young generation here. From the pattern that I've been seeing, Venus has been exerting a lot of pressure onto Koops. That Koops himself, as proactive as we may want to see him, given that that is one of the core strengths that Team Manila Eagles might have, that hasn't been a window of opportunity for Koops to really dive into. It's been Venus really choking him out by getting these subtle camp takes from Team Manila Eagles, not to mention the fact that Trevor is struggling. So it's Team Manila Eagles slowly being choked out here, almost leading to a 4,000 gold deficit, not to mention quite early on at 10 minutes. That's not the best position you want to be in for the Philippine squad.
And this is big trouble for especially the bot lane. When the mid lane falls this fast, this opens up their own potential of Null and Trevor left with no resources. Look at that deficit. 95 towards 57 is huge, knowing that you are on a Z. So Trevor is really feeling the pressure in the new environment of the GPL, as Null, he is pretty much comfortable on a Syndra, has a huge advantage against a Z.
This ultimately goes back to where, sure, Team Manila Eagles, they won game 1 against Resurgence, but then again,
here it comes. The Narvan combo might happen, but JLC, he does spot him out with his control ward and the ward in the Rift Herald. So we're seeing rotations coming in. Null might respond, but TME still sticking towards the bot lane.
Yeah, it's TME really wanting to hit hard on the bot lane turret to allow a little bit more flexibility for both Marky and Rox to make a little bit more of a rotation potentially. But then again, still that turret is up. You have to be careful.
Boy. We might see a collapse here. Null might commit to this. We are seeing a blast gun used by Pallet. One death sentence connecting onto any members can start a fight, but young generation, they know that the turret is there. They will not risk it all. Venus, however, will be going for the Mountain Drake. Rotations coming in from young generation. They have taken down the mid lane, removed Trevor from the game, and they are free to take any objective they want. A high priority Drake around the mountain.
And not to mention the fact that Team Manila Eagles definitely in a little bit more of a scary position, but looks like that is going to be the teleport for Ren in order to make sure that he avoids any further damage onto that turret. And looks like Big Carl himself will be dealing some damage there.
What they should do right now is wait it out, I think, for the storm to settle. Null will be continuously gaining some momentum, but we did see that he is going for the Unseeker's Dart. Now building maybe towards the Zonia's Hourglass, but he is building defensive. That is a good sign for TME. Not much damage coming in from Null just yet, but it's the fact that Koops has been denied of his blue buff twice.
I'd say that regardless, if you're going to look at it right there, Null building a Zonia's Hourglass.
Oh boy.
Oof.
Narvan combo incoming.
Not
3 members
good.
of young generation spotted in the top side. JLC has no mana, stuck towards the wall. Cataclysm for the combo, giving Null his killing spree, further increasing the value from the mid lane from young generation.
Man, this is just really young generation with all the forethought in the earlier phases of this game, really manifesting for them, choking out Koops from keeping up the speed with Venus here. And at the same time, with Trevor kind of at a handicap at 0-2. This is just YG capitalizing on all of this. And again, Team Manila Eagles, not really that many signs of being able to deal with it right now. If anything, a saving grace they might be able to have is Marky able to just safe and sound get some CS on, maybe going into these clashes. Their heavy CC might come to their benefit, but we'll just have to see as far as if they can pull the trigger on this.
Look at that, Trevor going in for some aggression, forcing out the flash from Big Caro, leaving the turret undefended. So this will be TME taking their first turn of the game, which is the bot lane outer turret.
I gotta say, the vision here from Young Generation has been spot on, both offensive and defensive. You know, as far as offensive, looking towards the upper side of Team Eagles jungle, that control ward right there has been there for quite a while now. And in a way, that's a lot of information out there for Young Generation as far as what rotations they have been able to pull off thus far within the first 15 minutes of this game. So
Trevor might have to step up in this next games because we are seeing the pattern where he does fall behind in CS and kills. GLC on a Cho'Gath cannot commit too much, knowing that he does see the Narvan combo. Might happen to him at top lane, but now GLC soloing the Rift Carol. You can see pinks here and there. Venus spotted out. Ren is gonna go in. Narvan combo is imminent. Yellow bar onto Ren. He will be Millionaire soon. TME is hastening their progress onto the Rift Herald. Remember, still trying to go in. They secure the Rift Herald without any casualties.
yes, indeed. Looks like Young Generation gonna be respecting the numbers advantage. Especially that might have been tricky for both the top laners and the jungler for Young Generation if they did try to contest that. So good restraint, but nonetheless, this is a great stepping stone for Team Manila Eagles. That could potentially salvage their rather rocky start within the first 15 minutes of this game.
This is very difficult because JLC is going for the Righteous Glory build, whereas we're seeing Ren already finished up his Black Cleaver. So TME, they need to catch up in itemization and gold, seeing how Nar has a huge advantage in CS. 4 members of the Young Generation spotted in the top lane side. Cataclysm is available. Flash is also for Venus. Venus does not get covered in cog. Marking flashing off the Cataclysm. Here comes the teleport from JLC. Here comes the start. Dazzle. TME goes in all. There's a 2-man knockout from JLC. Face goal for another knockup. Big Coro is trying to get away. Stun onto Ren. He's in yellow bar. And we can see he might be angry. But Null unleashed his power, forcing out TME to back.
Oh man, they're continuing to chase them.
There's the wall I've been looking for. 2-man wall for Young Generation at 0-6. Almost all the gold going to Null.
Oh man, that was so tricky for Team Manila Eagles right there. 3 casualties to nothing in favor of Young Generation here. Not to mention the scoreboard right now, 0-6 to boot. This is definitely Young Generation really just going full on, and this is what we've been talking about right here. Whichever team reaches their optimal spike faster pretty much has better control of this game. But let's go ahead and check out the replay here as to what transpired here. So Team Manila Eagles trying to get the re-engage onto Young Generation here, but the tricky part here is that, again, the damage I wouldn't say isn't quite optimal, and at the same time, Null just within the vicinity getting beautiful damage onto both Cute and JLC here. And at this point, you know, it was pretty much the chase, because with so many members of YG, there's only so much that he could do. And then beautiful knockup coming in from Ren. I don't know, Team Manila Eagles definitely trying to push for things, but just not working in their favor.
When you're forcing things when your mid lane is behind, and Null is 6-0, 17 minutes and 46 seconds into the game, TME really has to watch out for those CC. The Narvan combo is there, very a hindrance to Team Manila Eagles. But now Rocket will caught up. Trevor's there for the assist. Young Generation, they're looking towards ending this game as fast as they can, knowing that Marky can catch up with that Kalista. But now this time Marky does have the blade of the Ruin King. Maybe this is their saving grace. Null is dangerous. He does get stunned by the tower. Exhausted, and GLC goes in with a Righteous Glory. Gobbles him down, but it'll be Trevor picking up the shutdown.
Yeah, and looking at the itemization, I was actually expecting a Zondi's Hourglass to be popped up, but looks like Null actually opted to finish up on this roll prior to finishing up on the Zondi's. That was awesome. It's like whether or not this will be the comeback that Team Manila needs to potentially set the score. It's still a far way up, but nonetheless, it's a good start.
It's the fact that all their money is on onto Null, remove Null, all their money is down the drain. Venus is over that wall, looking for an engage. He does have that Cataclysm. Ren is really timing his engage. Here comes the big grab to start down before the immunity. Marky comes out on top with taking down Venus, and now Ren is yellow. Trevor is also below health. He pops the mark. He tries to get away, but Ren picks him up first. Mega Narc to the wall, but Fate's call for the save.
Wow, that is going to be one casualty, but nonetheless, with an outer turret taken in, almost very, very low health mid-inner turret as well. I'd say that's, again, we're talking about the stepping stones here, because Young Generation, they have a great spike right now. I mean, they're clearly pulled ahead of Team Manila Eagles because of that crazy full throttle moves that they can do. It looks like Young Generation will be going for their own form of retaliation by taking down this inner mid turret from Team Manila Eagles.
This is going to be 4 turrets for Young Generation, whereas TME only has 2. The Mountain Drake is in the hands of Young Generation. This is good news for them. They do have more pushing power. Seeing that it is a cog mouse, seeing the Baron will be live in right now actually. So, Young Generation, there is a pattern right now. We did see the TME, they removed Null. After removing Null, they were fearless. They are confident. They know what to do. So, take out Null first, and then go all in. Like, don't even worry about your casualties, because you're seeing that you're removing the main threat of Young Generation.
Looks like Young Generation actually spawning out the rest of the team, getting that Rift Spatula. As you know, again, we've been talking about how objectives and how ideally they try to want to contest it as much as possible, because it makes either side a lot more potent. But that being said,
oh, JLC pops that Righteous Glory, aiming to eat someone up. That will be an active cooldown for his item. So, Baron is live, Ocean Drake 2. Let's see how Young Generation will pace it out, seeing that they do have a tremendous lead in their mid laner. And that point and click delete is more than enough to destroy any key member that they see as a threat.
This is actually very interesting, because I've actually been talking to one of my coaches and how important, how it's a team effort to really get the vision on. Well, earlier actually there was, looking at the itemization for Young Generation here, earlier the Jarvan the Fourth actually had a control ward as well. So again, I feel like a lot of why Young Generation is able to really pick up the speed against Team Manila Eagles is because, again, they have so much information on TME because of the great vision that they had, consistently great vision as to make the
here comes Coops catching out Venus. He is under turret. The kill is still up for grabs. Marky will be taken away. The lanes of TME are very pushed, but Picaro might be the casualty. Trevor is there. Skill toss for Coops. Rocks instead will be taking the kill. So, gotta hand it to Coops for that engage, and now they will be going for the Baron. 2 members of Young Generation are down, but Previous lanes are heavily pushed. They are still willing to risk this Baron.
Yes, indeed. It's very risky indeed. And not to mention, if
oh boy, this better not be a hiccup. Here comes Null over that. That is one connect, but Coops will be going on to Null. Here comes the invulnerability. Marky comes out on top, takes down Null. The Baron is still up for grabs, but TME, they're trying to back away. That Zenith is landed onto Rocks the down. Flash connect onto Pallet. Pallet is over low. There's the knockup. Marky's on a rampage.
Wow, again, this is what we've been talking about right here. It's almost like a time.
Oh, 2-man stun on that wall. Here comes the Narva combo. Cataclysm for the lockdown, and it's all a cleanup. And Venus is here. GLC, no mana. There's the red, but for the burn damage, Venus backing away. But he does have another engage. GLC, will he be taken down? The knockup is there. GLC gets taken down.
Oh no, and with 3 members of Team Manila Eagles down, will they be going for this Baron? Looks like they might be clearing out for the meantime, but yes, looks like they will be pushing for this Baron. This could be very dangerous for Team Manila Eagles. Wow.
That was intense. Seeing how TME, they did manage to delay that Baron. Venus, very low. Oh, same with Picaro. This will be an execute perhaps? Yes, it is. That execute. An execute for Young Generation, but they're not giving up just yet. The Baron will go to Young Generation.
Oh my goodness. And after all this time, I've been wondering, Coops was already alive, so I was kind of anticipating that they might have wanted to check that Baron. Sure, it might have seemed risky that Young Generation, they might have been thinking that it might be too risky for Young Generation to go for it. But let's go ahead and check out what transpired here. So Team Manila Eagles really trying to work out this Baron. Sure, they were able to get a kill. Marky, clearly a star across the board during the entirety of what transpired here, but still, regardless, might have been too dangerous because the great thing here was that Ren and Parallel was actually able to distract TME long enough for Venus to get back into here, and this is going to be the moment where Venus really shines here. A lot of members, great knock into the wall. Again, this is what Vulcan's been talking about. The Gnar and the Jarvan the fourth combo right here. Cataclysm plus the knockbacks is just absolutely insane. And again, Team Manila Eagles might really want to be careful when it comes to where they fight as well as positioning, because during in those close quarter areas, that's really giving Jarvan the fourth and Gnar all the more windows of opportunity to maximize that combo and wreak havoc on Team Manila Eagles.
That is a death sentence. You are digging your own grave if you're picking a fight where there's a lot of walls, but still, Jarvan is there. He has his own wall, so wherever Young Generation picks a fight, they will have superb engage. So right now, Young Generation, 2 Drakes in their hands, staying with the Baron. This is Young Generation on the offensive, where TME will be defensive. Baron power plays now for Young Generation.
So, it looks like Young Generation really pushing in on hard.
There's the standard. Let's see. Venus after Cataclysm, gone onto DLC. Third be taken down. Venus goes in. There's the Cataclysm knocking down 3 members of TME. There is the call for invulnerability. Marky gets the shutdown, but Ren is still tanky. Big Coro gets the death mark. He still survives. Stun will go on to Null. Null has no more mana. Pallet is a sitting duck. He's begging for mercy, but TME will just eat him up. Trevor is now getting back his momentum.
Oh man, but still, regardless, that is going to be again a small victory for Team Manila Eagles, but you can't deny the fact that the gap is still quite huge as to how much they need to climb in order to really get back on their feet against Young Generation. But again, savior here for Team Manila Eagles, Marky on this Kalista, and Trevor again slowly trying to get back into this game. I'd say if you're gonna look at his itemization as far as what he's managed to complete, still just the almost Ghost Blade, quite a bit of a long way to go. But then again, we have seen just how much damage he could potentially build onto Big Koro. Once he completes another key item, I feel like that's where things get really devastating. So let's go ahead and check out what happened here in the replay. Again, great stun here. Venus actually the first to fall here. And then great invulnerability. Great timing actually coming here from Roth. Trevor actually goes in onto Big Koro. But again, maybe he might have shadowed back in a little bit too early, because I feel like one more melee might have done it for Big Koro. But nonetheless, they do continue to get the chase. Managed to get Pallet in this case, all 5 converging onto that support there. So again, small victory for Team Manila Eagles. Great build up here. As long as they're able to avoid smaller mishaps, well, kind of like that.
So Trevor gets picked off by Ren, so that would be a penalty for. He was farming in the top side to catch up in gold, but he does pay the price with his life. Here comes the called Venus. This is the vicinity. Cataclysm is available. Scope is there for the native grab. Here he comes. DLC might not survive though. He comes all over the hall. He does pop the zoner. There's the invulnerability. Marky is still full HP, but Young Generation with their dance, they are able to secure JLC's head. So they are now moving towards the bot lane, changing their focus. Marky is still there to defend. Goops has no more ultimate. This will be a bot lane inhibitor turret in the hands for Young Generation.
And all said and done.
Let's see if they'll defend this way, but the inhibitor will be the price for Trevor being picked up in the top lane side. This is TME moving forward but backward at the same time. So Young Generation, they have a lot of map control. Now the next trick is Ocean. This will be a high priority trick for Young Generation.
So it's so unfortunate, just what we were talking about, what they needed to avoid. There goes Trevor, down he went. So again, these are things that they really have to be careful of if they want to try to potentially turn things around and take down Young Generation for their second win. Because from what I've been seeing here, Young Generation clearly poised, a lot of forethought, a lot of domination, a lot of control over Team Manila Eagles, which clearly results in more of these casualties here. And looking at, let's go ahead and compare items here for both Trevor and Null. Trevor managing to complete 2 items, not necessarily completing Maul Maltorius just yet. And on the other side, Null here already 4 core items completed on the Cinder. That is very, very scary.
Void Stab on top of that, forcing Marky to build a Hex Drinker.
And that's technically not the best scenario you want to be in when you're Team Manila Eagles and you really want to rely on champions such as Kalista and the Zed to really deal a lot of optimal damage. Trevor to get that assassination into the core earlier on. Marky just kind of getting a lot of peel from the rest of everybody. No, look at that damage.
The damage is more than enough to melt down the tank that Juggernaut scored. TME right now, Young Generation, they are looking to close this game as fast as they can. 7 turrets for Young Generation. They will make it this 8 turrets. That's anything connect on to Ross, but he does get saved by the Fate's Call. I don't think TME can survive this dive.
And with Young Generation, the tricky part is that across the board, they could even deal with the tankier members of Team Manila Eagles here. Seeing how much Victoria was shredding JLC, it's actually very worrying that I don't think TME could really deal with this aggression that just might
Here comes Ratchet's Flurry Pop by JLC. The invulnerability will not touch JLC. Victor picks up the kill. Marky has no more protection, puts the top, fighting that stuff is very expensive to grab, but Marky still trying his best to get any member he can. But here comes the Mega Knock and the lockdown from the Narvan. Young Generation will be securing their first victory of the group stages in day 1.
Looks like that'll be congratulations. After quite the troubling loss earlier during the day, looks like they will manage to recuperate as they take their first win for the group stage of day 1 of the Garena Premier League.
Well played for Young Generation, the second seed from Vietnam, one of the same region that the Gigabyte Marines came from. Congratulations on their victory in their game 4.
But man, let's go ahead and talk about what happened there. Again, I gotta say the early game, the flow of the early game really dictated the flow as to exerting that not really effort, but the dominance that Young Generation was able to establish throughout the entirety of the game. Again, excellent vision, not to mention the fact that denying a lot from folks and that takedown onto Trevor, really crippling Team Manila Eagles from the optimal damage that they can to take on those high priority targets. It's just so unfortunate.
It all started with the mid lane, obviously. The mid lane was the tipping point where the power balance will be in the favor of whoever destroys the mid lane, especially Trevor giving the first blood to Null. Null gets another kill, 6-0, 40 minutes into the game. It's more than enough to seize control of all the objectives. Marky was restricted, he couldn't move that much because of Null, and I think from the advantages that Young Generation was able to get, that secured them a lot of Drakes, a lot of turrets, in the end, getting the victory.
Man, oh man. Again, we'll just have to see. Anything can happen in the GPL, but looks like we have 1-1s across the board. I mean,
1-1s for the TME and Young Generation, whereas for KLH, still 1-0. We have been the Shoutcasters for this game. I am Vulcan, and with me is Arctic. We will be back after a short break. Comes the cross. Marky flashes off Mechanic. Here comes the teleport from JLC. Here comes the start. Dazzle. TME goes in all. There's a 2-man knockout from JLC. Face goal for another knockup. Big Carl is trying to get away. Stun off to Ren. He's in yellow bar. And we can see he might be angry. But Null unleashed his power, forcing out TME to back off. Oh, there's the wall I've been looking for. 2-man wall for Young Generation. He pops the mark. He tries to get away, but Ren picks him up first. Mega Narc to the wall, but Fate's call for the save. Here comes the invulnerability. Marky comes out on top, picks down Null. The Baron is still up for grabs, but TME, they're trying to back away. Dead Center just landed onto Ross the down. Flash connect onto Pallet. Pallet is over low. There's the knockup. Marky's on a rampage.
Wow, yeah, this is what we've been talking about already. It's almost like the time.
Oh, 2-man stun on that wall. Here comes the Marvin combo. Pallet looking for the lockdown, and it's all a cleanup. And Venus is here. GLC, no mana. There's the rebel for the burn damage. Venus backing away, but he does have another engage. GLC, will he be taken down? The knockup is down. GLC can't take. And there's the character looking down. members of TME. There is the call for invulnerability. Marky gets the shutdown, but Ren is still tanky. Big Caro gets the death mark. He still survives. Sun will go on to Null. Null has no more mana. Talon is a sitting duck. He's begging for mercy, but TME will just eat him up. Trevor is now invulnerability will not touch DLC. Big Caro picks up the kill. Marky has no more protection, puts the top on the secondary seconds of gap, but Marky still seconds again. And remember, he can, but here comes the Mega Knock and the lockdown from the Narvan. Young Generations will be securing their first victory of the group stages in day 1.
Right, that'll be congratulations. After quite the troubling loss earlier during the day, looks like they will manage to recuperate as they take their first win for the group stage of day 1 of the Garena tournament.
Well played for Young Generation, the second seed from Vietnam, one of the team regions that the